You haven't moved. You haven't spoken. You haven't done anything physically demanding. And yet by the end of the day, you are completely depleted. Not from what happened, from what you replayed, rehearsed, predicted, and second-guessed inside your own mind. Overthinking is the most invisible form of exhaustion, and it is the one most people never address because it disguises itself as something useful. When your mind is not focused on a specific external task, a network of brain regions called the default mode network activates automatically. Research published in 2025 in the journal Biology confirms that this network governs self-reflection, emotional processing, and mental simulation, the brain rehearsing possible futures and reviewing the past. In moderate doses, this is adaptive. It is where empathy, creativity, and planning live. But in a brain prone to overthinking, this same network becomes overactive and self-reinforcing. It does not generate solutions. It generates more questions, more scenarios, more iterations of the same fear in slightly different clothing. Simultaneously, fMRI research from Ohio State University found that chronic rumination, the clinical term for repetitive, unproductive thought, produces measurable shifts in brain connectivity. The circuit between the amygdala, your threat detection center, and the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational decision-making, becomes dysregulated. Your threat system fires loudly. Your reasoning system responds not by calming it, but by feeding it more material to process. You are not thinking your way through the problem. You are thinking your way deeper into it. People with high intolerance of uncertainty find ambiguity genuinely distressing. Not mildly uncomfortable, but neurologically threatening. The brain registers not knowing as a form of danger, and so it does what it does with every perceived danger. It prepares, it scans, it runs simulations. It tries to think its way to certainty in situations that simply do not offer any. The tragedy is that this strategy never works because no amount of thinking can resolve uncertainty that has not yet resolved itself. But the brain does not stop trying. It is not looking for an answer. It is looking for the feeling of safety that an answer would provide. There is a specific reason overthinking is so difficult to stop. It feels productive. When you are replaying a difficult conversation, you tell yourself you are learning from it. When you are gaming out every possible outcome before making a decision, you tell yourself you are being responsible. When you spend an hour in your head before sending a message, you tell yourself you are being careful. But research on analysis paralysis is unambiguous. Overanalysis actively degrades decision quality. Studies show that overthinking reduces the working memory available for complex tasks, increases decision fatigue, and lowers performance on exactly the kind of cognitively demanding work that requires your best thinking.
This is the part most people never see. Overthinking feels like engagement with a problem, but in psychological terms, it is a form of avoidance. When you think repeatedly about a conversation you need to have, you are not preparing for it. You are substituting the mental rehearsal for the actual moment of discomfort. When you plan and replan a goal without executing it, the planning is not a step toward action. It is a replacement for it. Research on rumination consistently shows that it does not reduce distress over time. It maintains it. The loop exists not to solve the problem, but to avoid the uncertainty of acting in the presence of imperfect information.
4 interventions that research supports. First, name the process, not the content. Instead of engaging with what you are overthinking about, say, "I am in a rumination loop." The act of labeling activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces the amygdala's dominance over the thought pattern. Second, schedule a specific worry window. 15 minutes in the afternoon, nothing more, and deliberately defer all intrusive thinking until then. Studies show this trains the brain to contain rather than amplify anxious thought. Third, move your body. Physical movement, particularly rhythmic cardio, directly reduces default mode network overactivity. This is not a metaphor.
it is neuroscience. Fourth, practice tolerance of uncertainty as a skill, not by eliminating anxious thoughts, but by acting while they are present. The goal is not to stop the thoughts before you act, it is to act despite them, repeatedly, until the brain learns that uncertainty does not require resolution before movement is possible. The thoughts feel important because fear makes everything feel important. But there is a difference between thinking that moves you forward and thinking that holds you in place. One produces decisions, however imperfect. The other produces more thinking. And the longer you stay in the loop, the harder it becomes to remember that the exit is always there, not at the end of more thought.
If this video made you think differently, like and subscribe.